But, you know, when you think about this kid, though, I mean, you have to stop it. And the one thing about Ohio State game, if the weather was different, Ohio State kills them. Let's be for real. Ohio State's one of the best teams in the country, if not the best team in the country. So, yeah, Evan Hall, you got to watch him everywhere because he's going to catch it out the backfield. And they love to run the, like, double screen where they kind of fake it to him like a run, make you think they're going to pass somewhere else, and they come back to him with the screen. So Joe Rossi's got his work cut out for him this morning.
Number 10 in the country in yards from scrimmage is Evan Hall, who has taken over as the official, unofficial mayor of Maple Grove now that Brad Davison finally graduated from Wisconsin.
Did he finally leave?
Yeah, they're going to be the future mayors of Maple Grove. He might be. The Badgers played last night at, I think, American Family Field, formerly known as Miller Park. I checked the box score to see if Davidson was in there. He wasn't, so I don't know if he's, has COVID or something, or he got held out, or maybe he finally graduated. But Hull is what, really from the jump, when he played as a true freshman, I remember talking to him at Athletes Village because they had some running backs get hurt. He stepped in a few years back, played really well, and has never really given the running back spot back. So a really good player.
The Wildcats began the season with Ryan Hilinski as their starting quarterback. In their last 3 games, Brendan Sullivan has been the man under center. Since becoming the starter, Sullivan has thrown for nearly 500 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Unfortunately for the Wildcats, the QB change hasn't done anything to change the result on the scoreboard. Guys, this could be a big day for the Minnesota secondary.
Well, he's a mobile quarterback as well, so he can get them out of trouble a little bit with his legs, which he has done a couple of times. We just see it here. What's interesting, and Ron hinted at this a little bit about their passing game, nearly 30% of their passes have been behind the line of scrimmage. Another nearly 40% have been from 0 to 9 yards. So this is not an offense that is looking to take deep shots and stretch the field. They're the prototypical, let's just try to stay ahead of the chains. Let's take what the defense is giving us. Let's shorten the game by getting first downs. I mean, I can't do math very well, but that's nearly 70% of your passes are less than 10 yards. Your attempts, the ultimate check down. So Gophers have to be careful that they don't get beat on a deep shot because that would be a break of tendency, but just keep everything in front, go up and make the plays.
You used a lot of numbers there just now. It sounded pretty good to me. Don't sell yourself short on your math skills.
I don't know if they added up correctly, but there were a lot of numbers written down.
But it's still early in the morning. My
Zach
brain.
Halverson would say that was 69%.
That's right.
Exactly. My brain doesn't compute very well before 11
Nor does mine.
So, yeah, okay. So.
But he's right. When you look at them when they come to the line of scrimmage, what the quarterback's doing is he's reading right away. So Joe Rossi's going to have to disguise a little bit. If you show them off, they're going to, like JC said, they're going to take the underneath. If you show them press, then they'll run the fades and some other stuff. But for the most part, they're watching. He's going to look at all your weaknesses, and he's going to say, okay, this corner's off. He's up. I'm taking this. Pre-snap, and then he'll kind of look around and make you think other stuff, and he's just going to come back to that guy. Same thing with the screen. When they have the screen called, they're going to fake the handoff. They're going to do all their crap. Running back's going to get set up over there. He's going to dump it off to him. Because what they know is I can throw a screen and probably complete 10 out of 10 if my team does it and executes right. I know I can throw a hitch, and I always talk about the hitches and slants. Get us going with a hitch and a slant. Glenn Mason used to always do that.
Yep.
But you can complete. Mason would always say, we should be 98% completion ratio when I call a hitch. If he's an off and I call a hitch, if you don't catch it, I got to find somebody else to get in here. And so that's where Northwestern thinks. I'm going to keep it simple, and I'm going to hopefully trust my defense. In the past, hasn't worked out for them this year, but you got to be careful because this is a team that has not won.
Right.
Like I try to find always go through the stats. It's like, oh, how are they at home? How are they away? They haven't won a game at home or away. So you really can't.
They haven't won a game in America this year.
I remember you brought that up.
Their only win was in Ireland.
That's very true.
Speaking of overseas, Brad Davison plays for Lithuania.
Oh, good check.
How about that?
Good check.
What research?
Sure, he's a fan favorite.
Yeah. I mentioned off the top that Minnesota's trying to win its 3rd in a row. This coming after a 3-game losing streak. Guys, what's changed these last 2 games that has allowed the Gophers to get back on track?
Well, a little bit is opponent, right? Rutgers and Nebraska, not the top of the Big Ten, but they certainly offensively they have found enough. And we already talked about the defense limiting the explosive plays against Rutgers. That was never going to be a threat against Nebraska. Once they figured out what Nebraska was trying to do, they were very good about moving on from it. But offensively, I think they found a little something in that second half, whether it was Athan getting out of the pocket, moving a little bit, the receivers finally making those routine catches or those easy plays, and then Dalen Wright making a couple spectacular catches. I just think they've been fairly opportunistic and have been able to control things, and obviously the guy we're watching right now, Mo, has something to say about that as well.
Yeah, I always go back to games that I remember being a part of and games I watched. There was always a big play, whether it was Rashad Bateman, Tyler Johnson, Eric Decker, could have been Ben Utek. Receivers have to make plays, and vice versa defensively. There was always a big play. Jordan Houghton, because I feel like he's been here for 6 years.
Yeah.
But somebody always has to make a play. That play right there, and I'm going to talk about that later, that should be a catch. Michael Brown-Stevens jumps and then tries to catch it at his crotch. You don't need to – he either jump too soon or he needs to work on basketball skills because he doesn't know how to get a rebound. And so that's the little plays like that. If he makes that catch, the Tanner Morgan day looks totally different. It's not 22 yards. It's 62 yards. You know, and Tanner maybe now feels more comfortable with that deep shot. Rossi never went back to that until the third quarter. And so I think that's the key with this team is the big differences have been guys making plays. Like you said, the Dalen Wright play, that was huge. That's a momentum changer. The Daniel Jackson deep ball.
Yep.
You know, if Athan throws it early, it's a touchdown, you know, and that's just young. That's youthful learning. Like in his mind, he probably was like, all right, pump, 1, 2, 3. No, it's pump. Oh, shoot, he's gone. 1, throw it. And so that he'll learn that as he gets older. But right now, he's a robot. He's like, coach told me pump, and then 1, 2, 3, and then throw it. And he did it. Like literally, if you watch his feet, he's technically sound. But then there's those moments where you got to be a little bit like Josh Allen and say, screw this, or Pat Mahomes, you know, I'm just going to throw it now.
We would certainly love to see that. Yeah, stick around.
He's built like them.
Hey,
that's why I say, like, he's built like the prototypical NFL guy.
We might see it today. Who knows? When we come back, Ron and I will highlight some key plays and performers from last week's victory against Nebraska. All that and more coming up on the Gopher Pregame Show.
Welcome back to the Gopher Pregame Show.
Thanks for staying with us here on the Gopher Pregame Show. Pierre Nugent, Ron Johnson, Justin Gard here, and we're going to take a look back at a couple plays from last week against Nebraska. Ron, a couple things that stood out to you, particularly in the passing game. We're going to start with Athan Kaliakmanis. It's not a good play, the first play, but it's something that you noticed that they learned and moved on from.
Yeah, this team is about response, and PJ talks about, I want to see how my team responds. And so Ron's response moment of the week was some defensive ones too, but this stands out to me. Athan Kaliakmanis in the third quarter right here, you're going to see the quarters coverage, but then they're going to roll the safety to man. That safety is basically in man coverage with no safety help. The single high safety was shading the other side, knowing I got to double this guy. Athan took the bait, and they threw it. And this is right here. You got to see this. Not Joe Rossi, but Kirk Ciarrocca's got to see it too and say, hey, we got to change this play up and maybe do something different. They punt the ball because they don't convert. The very next drive, this is what I love. Kirk Ciarrocca says, you know what? They're playing us in quarters. Yeah. They're playing us in quarters, man. Let's just run the pump. If they're going to play quarters, man, and no quarters help, we are going to pump it. And so Athan's going to see it. He's going to understand the route. He's going to understand what's going on. And then he's going to make a move. And I love that Kirk Ciarrocca has the ability to be able to change that because when they punt the ball, they come back. This is the very next play after the 3-and-out of Nebraska. He pumps. There's that 1-2-3 I talked about. And it was the same exact coverage. They went quarters. They manned up Daniel Jackson. And honestly, Athan's pump did not matter because the DB's not even looking at him. He's like, oh, I know this. On third down, last time, they went with the in route, and the safety just sits there too because he's like, these guys haven't challenged us all day. Now he runs it, and that's Kirk Ciarrocca just responding. So it's not just Athan's response, it's Kirk Ciarrocca's response, and I know P.J. Fleck loves that because how are we going to respond when we get punched in the mouth? Well, we got punched in the mouth in that first third down. Hey, Kirk, what do you got? Man, look, they're giving us quarters, man. Let's do this, and that's what they did. Quarters, man, you got to run some kind of double move. And the minute he got the first one, I was screaming at the TV like, run a double move, like run a slant and go. Like if that was Rashad Bateman, they're running a slant and go. And that's why I don't understand why this team hasn't done it this year. Maybe lack of trust in some of these receivers, but hopefully this gives them trust in these receivers now that he can do the Rashad Bateman plays he's done for years.
And before anybody yells at the TV and says, hey, that ball was underthrown, you pointed out you were on the sideline for that throw, but that was into the wind.
Yeah, it was underthrown a little probably, but it was also into the wind dramatically. So I love that. That's an example of, I don't know if Tanner even attempts that throw because it's not necessarily a smart throw because it got hung up there. But Athan said, no, we called it. We got to take a shot. We got to do something. It was great. That corner looked like me trying to cover you. like when you come at me and I just turtle and I fall down like that. I felt that. I understand. I empathize with that.
But you could tell they were playing some kind of bracket. Like they were like, look, they haven't gone deep, so why are we putting a safety back here? Let's bracket him. If he runs a slant, you got him. He runs out, I got him. Perfect play call, and that's why I love Kirk Ciarrocca's response because you weren't getting the third downs.
All right, more coming up on the Gopher pregame show, everybody. When we come back, we'll sit down with one of the rising stars of this defensive unit, one-on-one with Cody Lindenberg when we return.
You're watching the Gopher Pregame Show.
Welcome back into the Gopher Pregame Show, everybody. Special guest joining us now, linebacker Cody Lindenberg joining us now. Cody, let's start with the latest victory you guys had against Nebraska. You're down 10-0 at the half. You make adjustments that they have to overcome and storm from behind to win it 20-13. What adjustments were made at the half, and how are you guys able to pull it out and down there in Lincoln?
Well, you know, it's hard when you got a game plan for guys to play. You're not certain if that certain guy is going to play quarterback. And then once we get a new plan in, they come out and do things a little differently. We got to get in, make adjustments, and then execute those adjustments the best as we can. We know those 2 first drives didn't start off the way we wanted to, but after that we put our nose in the dirt and got to work.
Yeah, well, how difficult was it? You mentioned that you got to defend against 2 quarterbacks. A lot of time you go into a week planning for 1, but then you had to face 2. How difficult of a challenge was that?
I think our coaches do a great job preparing us. Coach Rossi, the guru, does an elite job. I mean, we leave no stone unturned when it comes to preparation because, I mean, just in situations like that, you don't know who's honestly you're going to get. So you got to prepare for both, and then whichever one you get, you got to execute that game plan to the best of your ability. So I think Coach Rossi does an elite job, and the rest of our staff getting us ready for those situations.
For the last few weeks, whenever we've had the chance to talk to PJ Fleck, he has subtly mentioned that he would like to see the quarterback pressure a little bit dialed up. You had 4 sacks in the game against Nebraska. You had 1 of them. Yeah. I mean, what was said, or maybe what adjustments were made to like ramp up that pressure that maybe we hadn't seen in weeks prior?
Well, you're never going to question the effort the guys are going to give. So every game they're going out there doing their job to get those sacks, and you do their job to the best of their ability. And it's just, you got to play complementary football. The coverage has got to help with the sacks, and then the pressure's got to help with coverage. So everything ties into it. And then I just think just the extra effort to get back there and get the quarterback is kind of what did it.
Defensively, you guys have just been so stout all season long. What do you think has been the key to your guys' consistency?
Preparation, execution. I mean, we talk about every week we got to be better than we did the last. We got to execute the game plan better than we did the last week, because obviously you want to be better than you did the last week in terms of just playing and execution and stuff. But what really determines it is obviously every game is a different game. You got to game plan differently because you're playing a different team, right? But it's just executing that game plan better than you did the last week, and for this next game is what does it for us. And I think that preparation really gets us ready for the game so we can go out and execute our job without thinking.
What was it like for you being recruited in high school? How did you land at the University of Minnesota? Take us back and walk us through what that process was like.
Oh, man. Ever since I was a kid, I grew up watching the Gophers ever since I was a little kid. There's a picture of me with Goldie. I think it was an open practice out at the old TCF Stadium. And I don't know, ever since then, I've just been waiting for an opportunity to come here. And then as soon as I got that offer from Coach Fleck, I took it and ran with it. So, I mean, there's nothing else I was waiting for other than that.
There was no doubt about it. You knew you wanted to play for
Absolutely
the University
not.
of Minnesota.
Yes.
And how has your experience been so far playing for the University
Absolutely
of Minnesota?
elite. Everything I could have dreamed for, and just honestly more. The relationships I've made with the coaches, staffs, players, and then just everything in between has been extraordinary. Anything I could ever ask for.
What has been the key to your success and your growth, do you think, this season?
I think preparation. I mean, I've had a lot of failing in my career so far, especially as a younger player. I just think keeping at it, keep rowing the boat, and just continue to attack every day like it'll be your last, because honestly, not every day is guaranteed. And it's just, the way to get better is just to attack every time you fail is an opportunity to grow, opportunity to learn. And I think I've taken the most out of those opportunities that I've failed in, because there's been plenty, and I'm honestly so grateful for those opportunities that I have failed in, because I've been able to learn so much. And especially for my teammates, they've been able to pick me up. My coaches never gave up on me, and I'm just so grateful for those opportunities and failings that I've had to make the opportunities and connections that I've made. So,
would it be safe to assume that this is the most comfortable you felt on the field since you've been here?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that goes to the preparation. I think our coaches do a great job getting us ready for the game. And at the end of the day, it's up to the players to get in, do that extra work, and get yourself prepared. And at the end of the day, when we go out on the field, we're confident, we're comfortable, and we see the brothers next to us. We're ready when we get out there.
You guys have Northwestern up next. Let's talk about them a little bit, a team that has had its struggles this season, but at the same time, if you look back at last week, they gave Ohio State all it could handle. What are the challenges when you look at Northwestern on tape?
It's just getting that record aside. You know, we're not looking at that record. They're a very well-educated team, good culture. They're going to come out and play their hardest. They're a very well-effort team. They're going to go out there and play it absolutely as hard as they can. And it's just going out there, execute our game plan. Like we said, you got to execute the game plan better last week than we did the week before. So, I mean, you got to come out there and put that record aside and play your absolute best.
When you look at Northwestern, what are some of the things that you guys need to do? If there's any one or two things in your mind that you guys have to do in order to win the game, what needs to happen?
I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to doing our job with elite how and elite detail. Because at the end of the day, if we're in our gap with elite how, we're going to be able to get in our gap and make a play. Because at the end of the day, when you're not in your gap, even if anyone else is in their gap, it's going to be where you're not, and then everything else is for naught. So I think at the end of the day, we got to do our job with elite detail and elite how, and everything should fall into place.
What about for yourself? By the end of the year, where do you want to see yourself, and any goals in mind? What do you have planned for yourself by the end of the year?
Oh man, I just want to continue to grow, continue to be better, and at the end of this thing, I would love to be an all Big Ten linebacker.
Well, and he has certainly developed into a very dependable player on defense. You know, like we mentioned earlier in the show, this defense has only allowed 13 combined points in the last 2 games. And Cody Lindenberg, like we mentioned on the PJ Fleck show, especially I feel like it's been a theme the last few weeks. I want more pressure on the quarterback. PJ doesn't demand it like the way I just did, but
Right.
That's kind of what he's been saying. Give me more pressure on the quarterback. We've seen it the last couple of weeks.
We have, and Lindenberg in particular has really done a nice job just coming off of his injury. I mean, he was starting to play, his sophomore season, got hurt, missed essentially an entire season. So to come back from that, work his way back in, you love when the local kids do it. At least that's what I'm told as a one of us. We love when Minnesotans can come to Minnesota, from up there in Anoka, and he's having a great year, and more to come from him because he's definitely developing into a nice player.
Yeah, and I think Sawyer Marion is a huge part of that too.
Definitely.
When you have a linebacker you can trust, and it's all about trust, and we talked to Sawyer Marion on the PJ Fleck show about this, and PJ. Like when those guys build that trust, they can play fast because they can trust the guy behind them is doing their job, and nobody needs to play hero ball and run around and try to make it happen. So I think that's going to be the key today too. With a guy like Evan Hall, he does not go exactly to where the gap shows. He's going to bounce it. He's going to take it to places where you're like, whoa, what is he doing? How'd he get there? You got to all be up in your gaps. You got to take care of your gap. Don't worry about the next man. Trust, and they should be able to win this game.
All right, everybody, when we return on the Gopher pregame show, we'll take a look around the Big Ten. We'll discuss some of the big matchups happening today. That's coming up next.
Welcome back to the Gopher pregame show.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Gopher pregame show. You're taking a live look right now at Huntington Bank Stadium. It's quiet for right now, but at 2:30 today, that place is going to be rocking when Minnesota hosts Northwestern. Before we take a look at the Big Ten schedule for today, let's take a look at where things stand before the games kick off later this morning in the Big Ten West. You're going to see the standings here with Illinois alone at the top at 4-2 in conference play. After that, it's awfully crowded with Iowa, Wisconsin, Purdue, and Minnesota all sitting at 3-3. Just goes to show you how tight things are in the Big Ten West and how there is still a pathway for Minnesota to emerge as the division winner if things break their way. Time now to take a look around the Big Ten this weekend. Let's start with a game that I think a lot of Gopher fans, I know all of us here are going to be paying attention to this one. Purdue traveling to take on number 21 Illinois. The Illini had their 6-game winning streak snapped last week by Michigan State. Things are very tight again in the Big Ten West. Guys, very important game here in the Big Ten. Who do we like in this matchup?
We like Purdue because we need Illinois to lose.
That's it.
But honestly, Purdue, like Jeff Brom, he puts games together sometimes where you're like, where's this team all year? And so I feel like between him and Bielema, this is going to be one of those days where it's whoever can be more efficient with clock control. So meaning third down, you're getting extra time, you're keeping the other team's offense off. If Purdue finds a way to grind it out like they did in Minnesota, they can win this game. Like, Illinois is not like scary. They're good. But I don't think there's a team in the West, anybody from Minnesota all the way down to Northwest, whoever, nobody's like, oh, I'm so scared of this team. We don't have that.
Gopher fans are rooting for Purdue then today.
Rooting for Purdue today, and then rooting, I think, for like Indiana in a couple of weeks to beat Purdue, because I think Purdue has Northwestern as well. And well, I said it the night of the Gopher-Purdue game, that was a damaging loss, because you look, if the Gophers had that victory, how much different would the Big Ten West look in terms of the tiebreakers? Illinois, obviously, you could afford to lose. You don't love it, but the one that really is going to hurt them, and the reason why they have a pathway, but a lot of weird stuff has to happen, including you got to win the rest of your games.
Of course.
Yeah, go Boilermakers today, go Hoosiers in a while, and go Gophers all the time, apparently. But both those teams coming off tough losses, right? Illinois opened the door. Illinois was supposed to be cruising. They probably could have clinched it today if they would have just handled Michigan State last week. But they opened the door to let every other Big Ten West team at least dream a little bit.
You should put that on a T-shirt and sell it. What was it? Is it go Purdue today, go Hoosiers later,
tomorrow,
go Gophers all the time? I like that. That's got to be on a T-shirt.
Get
absolutely,
that
absolutely. Get that in there. Elsewhere in the Big Ten, another potentially big contest is Wisconsin travels to take on Iowa. In a way, I feel like we left the Badgers for dead, guys, but they've won 2 in a row to suddenly put themselves back in the picture in the Big Ten West. Iowa very much in the mix as well. I don't know who's going to win this game, but I know, Justin, that I'll be taking the under total if given the opportunity.
Well, that's it. Yeah, it's which team doesn't turn it over, which team punts better. I mean, this has been the Big Ten West game of Big Ten West games for the last decade, right? I mean, it's essentially been these two teams atop the division. Northwestern, I know, has snuck in there a couple of times, but why did Northwestern sneak in? Because they beat Iowa and they beat Wisconsin. I mean, these have been the teams that play Big Ten West football, and both of them, they're both back into the mix as well. They were both left for dead about a month ago. Iowa's offense has crept along. We know their defense is spectacular. Wisconsin, I don't think their defense is spectacular. I don't think their offense is spectacular. I just think they're kind of well-rounded and playing okay on all sides of the ball. So if you're asking me to pick, I have no idea. I guess I would lean Iowa. I think their offense is a little bit better. They've found a running game here lately, and it's at home.
Who are you picking?
I'm picking whoever can lose the most. Like, I just want them both to lose somehow, like Thanos would say. I want chaos.
Yeah.
It's
an elimination game for these
one of them. And if we're going to eliminate somebody, I'd rather eliminate Wisconsin. I agree with JG on that. So when you think about Iowa, because I think Minnesota can beat Iowa, so if Iowa can help Minnesota take care of Wisconsin, I think that's the key here. But this is the thing. If Brian Ferentz ever wants to show the world that he can get this thing together, today is the day. And you look at Wisconsin, where their holes are. They rely on their running game to slow the game down. And if Braylon Allen can't get going, and if he's not trucking, and if he's not going to give you 165 yards today, they're going to have to go to the air. And it's not pretty with Wisconsin right now. Iowa, on the other hand, they can figure it out. Use their quarterback. He has legs to run, so I think Iowa can do it. But Brian Ferentz has to show, because Thanksgiving's coming up, and if you ever want to go home for Thanksgiving and sit next to your dad, you better get it figured out. Or Dad Kirk's eating Thanksgiving by himself, and he's like, Brian, go to your room. You're not eating with us.
Let's quickly get through some of the rest of these. We saw Nebraska last week. Today they traveled to the Big House to take on number 3 Michigan. The Wolverines were challenged last week by Rutgers, but just took off in the second half, pulled away comfortably Guys, it's hard for me to see a path for Nebraska to win this football game.
There's not. So
Yeah, do you want us to disagree?
No, I don't. Actually, you know what? I'm glad we all agreed. Let's move on to the next one.
I think we're going to agree on this one, too.
I think we are. Number 2, Ohio State hosting Indiana. I don't know if this is the game that Justin was referring to. Go Indiana now. I guess it doesn't matter.
I don't know if you've ever seen The Shining when the elevator opens, but I feel like this is going to happen.
Creepy.
There's going to be blood everywhere, and Ohio State is going to cover the streets.
A lot of red on the field.
Oh, my goodness.
A lot of red on the field
It's
one
the
way or the other.
Shining moment. Ohio State, because this is the thing. The way the Final Four looks now, it's crazy. And so everybody's praying Ohio State loses somehow, some way, because they want to get Alabama back in. They want to get Tennessee, they want to make sure Tennessee's in there. Everybody's talking about Clemson might creep back in there.
Sure.
So Ohio State has to show we deserve to be in this spot. We deserve to stay at 2 because they don't want to drop to 4. You don't want to have to play Georgia early. Ohio State, I think this is the game where we're going to be like, oh, why did they do them like that? And weather's going to matter.
Okay.
But this is one of those games.
Yeah. Number 14, Penn State hosting Maryland. The Terps didn't look great last week against Wisconsin. Their only loss at home this season was against Ohio State. That's Penn State, that is. Seems like this could very well be a tough matchup for Maryland down in Happy Valley, Justin.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I was surprised how poorly Maryland looked. How badly they played against Wisconsin, because we've talked about Taulia, it seems like forever. He's a talented guy. They always have good players there, going back to Stephon Diggs, so we'll see tomorrow in Buffalo. But I think Penn State is just consistent enough to out-consistent Maryland, if that makes sense. I think, I know they've had their quarterback issues and they've had their issues as well. And James Franklin seemingly is always on the hot seat, even though he's won a ton of games down there. So I think Penn State wins this one.
Tagovailoa is going to learn that Penn State's defense is fast. And so this is the one game where you have a team that can spy your quarterback and keep him in the pocket. Not to say he's not a good pocket passer, because we thought his brother wasn't, and look what he's doing in Miami.
Yeah, look what he's doing.
He's going to have to show today that he can be a pocket passer.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. Yeah, Tua's playing pretty well. Good for Tua. We're not done here on the Gopher pregame show. When we come back, we'll give you our keys to victory as we get you ready for Minnesota and Northwestern. That's coming up next.
I love his brother say, like, are we done with the deep ball now? Are we done with the deep ball?
Should I put my jacket and hat on?
Yes.
He's like, I'm not taking a shot.
You're watching the Gopher pregame show.
Winding things down here on the Gopher pregame show, I just want to point out that Justin Guard is in studio with us. Normally he's on the road and he's in cold conditions. He's just so used to being cold.
Yeah.
You're just so conditioned that you're in the studio. You don't have to.
Now.
You're just getting ready for the day.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be on the sidelines here.
Okay.
I'm going to be out
Yeah,
on
you
Oak
are.
Street about noon, and if you get warm, it's harder to get cold. So I'm like I'm pre-warming up, so I'm really warm for like the next 4 hours, and then it'll be harder to get cold.
It's harder to get cold.
Another T-shirt. Another T-shirt.
It's not as snappy as row the boat.
Look,
but here I am.
Justin Guard, always playing chess, while the rest of us just sit here and play checkers.
Get warm.
Time now to get to our keys to victory. Justin wasn't with us last week for his key to victory, but he's back now, as you can see. Justin, your key to victory, sir.
This is every year my key for Northwestern is the same key, and it's don't play it safe. One of the mistakes that teams make against Northwestern is making the assumption that every mistake you make, Northwestern is going to capitalize on. I've seen it from Jerry Kill to Tracy Clays to PJ Fleck to Kirk Ferentz to Jeff Brom to Paul Chris, probably even to Barry Alvarez. Because they have so much respect for Fitzgerald, because they have so much respect for how smart Northwestern's players are, which is all true.
Yes.
They are very, very cautious. They don't want to make mistakes. Well, guess what? Northwestern loves that. The teams that go up and just boat race Northwestern, they understand they have a talent discrepancy. They understand the Gophers are more talented than Northwestern. Line it up. We've seen it last year. Gophers just lined it up, threw it all over the yard. 2019, Rashad Bateman, Tyler Johnson, just line up, throw it all over the yard. The teams that play it safe against Northwestern and are afraid to take chances, they're the ones Northwestern beats. And let's give you one nugget here that I don't think we've talked about. Northwestern's defense gives up almost 10 explosive plays a game.
Okay.
10-yard run, 15-yard pass. That's what we qualify as an explosive play here. At least that's what I do. Northwestern gives them up. So oblige them and take some.
Justin says don't play it safe. That kind of leads us into your key to victory as well, which similar theme I'm noticing.
Yeah, scared money don't make no money.
know
That's
it.
how I grew up.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I grew up that way. That's my friends in Detroit. That's how we played it. Scared money don't make no money. If you go out there and play scared, if you're not willing to let, whether it's Ethan or Tanner, I don't care. If you do not do some of these double moves, if you do not treat this like Rashad Bateman and Tyler Johnson are a receiver, meaning Dalen Wright can make those catches, take the one-on-one shots. If you see them playing quarters, man, zero cover, saying screw you, I don't need a safety for you guys. If you don't attack that with some kind of double move and trust Ethan to make that throw or Tanner, you are going to lose this game. So scared money won't make any money. You can run the ball 50 times, yes, but you do not want to get into a running game. Evan Hall versus Mo Ibrahim, yeah, it could be a great day for running backs, but it's going to be boring. And the first person to take a shot, I think, is going to win, and I hope it's Minnesota.
Scared money don't make money. That's something I say to myself every time I walk up to the craps table. And, should I put down?
Yeah.
Are you like Iron Man? Just put $3 million down on black.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. And I'm still working here today. That goes to show you what happened at the roulette table. My key to victory right now is make Northwestern one-dimensional. Take away the run, make this team throw. When you take away the run, you can pin your ears back, let the game come to you. Northwestern isn't a team that's just going to bomb it all over the field like we talked about earlier in the show. So be ready to be aggressive and make this team play from behind. That is my key to victory today. Before we get to the matchup meter, we want to tell you to download the Fox Bet Super 6 app for your chance at winning $25,000. Fox Bet Super 6 is a free-to-play contest where you pick the winners and margins of victory of 6 marquee matchups. If you get all 6 right in the college football contest, you have a shot at winning the $25,000 jackpot. Open the app and make your picks before Saturday's games kick off. All right, time now for the matchup meter. Ron Johnson, the floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, like Jay-Z always said, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. So I got to go with the numbers on this. I'm going Minnesota's offense because when you look at points per game, Minnesota's put up 30.6. Northwestern's only been able to score 16 points a game. So, hey, the numbers don't lie there. I got to go with Minnesota. Defensively, same thing. They've given up 27.9. The Gophers have only given up 14 points. As bad as it feels, fans, when they lose these games, they're only giving up 14 points a game. They've had some shutouts in there, so I got to go with the Gophers defense. There's no real numbers for coaching besides wins and losses. So, again, men lie, women lie. Hey, that win total, it don't. PJ Fleck, we know how many games he's won. Pat, You haven't won in the U.S., as JG pointed out. So I don't know if the veterans would have been happy with you yesterday because you aren't representing well in the United States of America, Pat. But he has not won a game. So coaching, I got to give it to PJ Fleck and to the Gophers. But you know what, the X factor? I'm going to take the numbers out of this. I'm going to go Evan Hall because this is a kid from Maple Grove, Minnesota. This is a kid who has been watching his Northwestern Wildcats this year get thrashed and watching a school he could have went to do well. There's nothing more motivating than beating the team in your hometown when you know your family is coming to watch. We know the city of Maple Grove, the mayor of Maple Grove, everybody's going to be there. They're going to be crimsoned out with their Vegas gold, looking like Gophers, by the way, and they are going to be cheering for Evan Hall. So he's going to be lathered up. He's going to have the Vaseline on. It is a Vaseline day. He's going to get slippery, and it's going to get fun. So Evan Hall is my X factor because this kid wants to show Minnesota, hey, I know I didn't pick you, but I'm still good. You
know, the political ads are over, but, I mean, Ron Johnson just sold me hook, line, and sinker every step of the way. He has my vote. Vote for what? I don't know, but I know I'm voting for him come election time in a couple of years.
I have no response.
I'm legalizing marijuana. I'm going to legalize betting.
All that.
Minnesota sports betting.
Hey, I mean, well, that's an easy way to get my vote. Now you're just sucking up to me, but you know what? I appreciate it nonetheless. Justin Gardner.
I'm a little hot.
Yeah, he's warm.
It's hot, yeah.
Warm before you get cold.
Warm before you're cold. Layers today if you're coming to the game. Layers.
2:30 kickoff between Minnesota and Northwestern. Thanks for joining us, everybody, on the Gopher pregame show.
But we could see some rain showers. Right now, forecast is just to be overcast conditions, but another ranked matchup. Real quickly, just to let you know, on Fox, we got a quadruple header, and it starts with